Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to weigh in on a topic that I feel like has been kind of cycling around the YouTube sphere. And we usually don't do this, but I think we have a pretty unique look at this. There's a lot of folks saying that retro collecting or video game collecting in 2023 sucks. Would love for you to jump in the comment sections and weigh in and give your opinion right now, and then see if that changes through our discussion. There's a lot of folks selling off their entire collections.
Yeah, it's becoming a trend, like especially on YouTube. Everyone is like, oh, game collecting sucks. Let me sell all my stuff. I'm tired of this hobby. I'm tired of all this stuff. And we even see it in the comment section. People are like, game collecting's impossible. Game collecting's too expensive. Scalpers and resellers are ruining the freaking hobby for me. And it's like, dude, why is everyone freaking out?
Yeah.
Why? Settle down.
And, you know, I think it's a good point that you brought up that this is going on in the comment sections as well. So I'm not alluding to the fact that these videos are clickbaity or people are just jumping on a trend. I think there's a definite groundswell of people feeling this way.
Yeah.
And I think it really depends on what you're collecting and if you have the ability to change your scope.
I think it's very important. Very important.
So right now, does collecting suck if all you want to collect is the GameCube? I mean, I don't know if suck is the operative word, but it's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of noise right now around the 3DS and the DS stuff. Prices are going through the roof.
I think if you're collecting for that right now, you probably missed the boat. And you probably are. It probably does suck for you because you're like, I'm forking this much. They have a lot of money.
With that being said, though, the boat's only going to get further away. So I'm not going to dive in right now. But if that's something you're hell-bent on collecting, you may want to shit or get off the pot. And then, you know, some of the stuff that has kind of always been expensive, at least since, you know, I can remember, is like your TurboGrafx 16, your Sega Saturn stuff
like that.
And obviously on the more retro, like NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, I don't think it sucks to collect for those at all, actually. Yes, there are games that are nuts.
Obviously, there are games that are crazy, you know, Power Blade 2, Little Samson, stuff like that. But there's so many amazing cheap games that if you are just now starting to collect, it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
You can get, like, one of my favorite NES games, Jackal. It's like $10.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I get if you're doing, like, CIB shit, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, in the description below, we did this $100 game collection challenge on most of the consoles we have in the game room. I think there's a few we still have to get to yet, where we were just proving the point that you can still collect on a budget. So that stuff is affordable. I think PlayStation 2 and Xbox, which is weird, you know, Gen 6, which is where the GameCube is. GameCube's stupid, expensive, not a stupid console. Love the GameCube. But PS2 and then Xbox is the cheapest of the generation, and in a lot of cases, the third-party games are best played, or play the best, or look the best on the Xbox.
It's kind of weird, like Gen 6 is super collectible. Half of it is, because you got the GameCube and the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Good luck collecting for the Dreamcast. That's also crazy expensive. I love the Dreamcast. The games are awesome. But PS2 and Xbox, man, the libraries are insane. The libraries are huge. We've talked about this generation and these consoles so freaking much because you can find games that you missed out on, or games that you have huge nostalgia for, that are super freaking cheap.
Yeah.
There are going to be some, you know, that are kind of expensive, $40, $50, but
on every console you're going to run into that.
That's still not that bad compared to, like, you know, modern games, $70 for all these stuff, and like man, there's so many epic, like Burnout 3, dude. That game's so cheap. NHL hits, like,
you just brought up a really good point that I don't think gets talked about enough, is you've got these folks in comment sections, other YouTubers, etc., saying it sucks because it's gotten too expensive, and then they'll talk about how they just got a PS5. $500. Games are $70. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. Controllers are like over $100 for a freaking controller.
Piece,
Yet they think it's crazy to spend $35 on an NES game. I don't understand. I get that it's not what it was a while back, but I think it is like it was a while back on certain consoles. So that's where we're going to give you what we think are the best consoles to go collect for, in our humble opinion, in 2023. Because we're finding this stuff everywhere, and we're not exaggerating. For me right now, I personally am going really heavy on the PS3.
Yes, dude, the PS3 is awesome. There are so many cheap games, and what's cool is the games look great, HDMI, you don't have to worry about, oh, I don't have an old CRT TV. You can play it on your modern TV. The games are great. The games are longer games, and most of the time, this was the era, where online became big. But most of the time, the games fire up right away, and you don't need that online stuff. So it's the perfect blend of all that stuff.
Yeah, and you get a Blu-ray player. You get the ability on all models to play PS1 games. There is the original model where you can play PS2 games.
Which is awesome.
A lot of value, and there's for me, that was kind of the console I got when I was in college. Loved it, played the hell out of it, but there's so many games I missed in that generation.
There's so many from that generation that we are discovering now, and we're like, holy crap, how did we not play this? Because we can't play everything.
Yeah.
It's just so awesome, and when you put a game in from the PS3 era, sometimes I'm like, holy crap, this looks like a new game. You know, it doesn't look like an old game.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome,
I mean, we play Burnout Revenge all the time. Now, we play the 360 version, but I mean, point being, that gen still looks fantastic. And the online store is still open. It's kind of a little pain in the nuts.
It kind of is.
To access, but...
But, I mean, it's still open for now. Who knows when they will close it, because they did talk about closing it, and then they kept it open. One game that we're really grinding on right now is Alice Madness Returns. It's a little bit of an expensive game, but still, compared to modern gaming,
it's like $40.
I don't think it's that bad, and that game's incredible. And I was like, I've never played this before. So,
but there's so much low-hanging fruit there. I mentioned the online store for the reason that you can get PS1 games, PS2 games, and we do have some content coming on that in particular, so we won't dive too deep into it, but I think you can get Vita games on there. So many things you can do on the PS3, so that would be my vote. I see a PS3 at least weekly at the two pawn shops I frequent. They usually have $60 on it.
It's not bad.
And the games at pawn shops are $5. At our thrift stores, they're $3.99, and you see them all the freaking time. And everything we're saying about that, another console on our list that I think you have to talk about is the Xbox 360.
Yes, the same era, which back in the day when these were the new consoles, I was a 360 kid.
Yep.
Even though they're both incredible, I love the 360. Obviously, it had problems back in the day with the Red Ring of Death and all that stuff, but if you find like the later models, that I don't have an issue. I don't have any problems with it.
We've never had any issues with like the Elite or the S or whatever. The last two versions.
Yeah, they work great. I love the Xbox 360 controller, and it applies to the PS3. The games look great. They play great. There's so many amazing games that I didn't get around to because I was playing other things. And dude, games, you can find them for $.
Oh yeah,
dude, if you just started for the 360 or PS3 and spent $100, you'd be set for so long.
Yeah,
many awesome
we just
games.
did a video game convention and sold a ton of PS3 and 360 stuff. So that's why I think it's important, is you want to be ahead of the curve on this stuff.
Yes.
People are buying this stuff, and so many of the games we were selling, great games. God of War, $7.
Insane.
$5 games, Grand Theft Auto 4, I think I sold for $5. So you can find this stuff everywhere. I think the next pocket is the Xbox and the PS2.
Yes.
Again, we see this. I just bought a silver PS2 mint with a mint controller. It's the slim model. That's the silver one I'm talking about. It was $30.
That's insane, dude. I love the PS2. The PS2 is one of my favorite consoles, and it has one of the biggest freaking libraries. So even if back in the day you played it a ton, I bet there's so many games you didn't play.
For sure.
There's so many awesome games. Now, you probably do need like a TV that has AV, obviously, or you can upscale it if you want to do that. Yeah. But man, the games are great. Yeah. I love the PS2. Same with the Xbox. The games are freaking great, and they're so cheap. They're cheaper than PS3 and Xbox 360 games because they're, a little bit older, and you can find them for way cheap everywhere. Yeah. Garage sales, and thrift stores.
And all these consoles we've already mentioned, there are games that are through the roof expensive, but for the most part, you can get a lot of heavies, You don't,
obviously, if you want to go crazy, you can go crazy, but you don't have to go crazy to enjoy collecting in 2023. That's why I don't understand why people are freaking out and like getting upset. You just gotta freaking be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna collect this anymore. Let me collect for this. Yeah. Because then it's fun and you're not breaking the bank. Yeah. Dude.
I think you gotta be where people aren't. I think the OG Xbox, it's a great time, and because of its install base, I don't know this, but I think that it's gonna come. There's gonna come a point where that stuff is gonna start rising in price, and there are some Xbox games that have risen quite a bit.
What's really cool is like if you have like an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X or whatever it is, backwards compatibility with some games, so you can get these cheap Xbox games or Xbox 360 games backwards compatibility. Then you don't have to worry about the console. You can play it on your HD TV. Yeah, that's awesome. I know it doesn't offer everything. I just ran into the issue. I don't know why, but the Deadpool game no longer works on my Xbox One. It used to. I don't know why.
I think they delisted it or something.
It's so dumb, but most games or some games are backwards compatible, so that's just another extra thing that's awesome.
A great value as well, I think, is a Nintendo Wii. There's a lot of people, myself included. I'll speak to the folks that were kind of in on the PS2 and we were in our teen years, and the Wii came out and you kind of thought it was for babies. Like, that's a weird thing to say, but I think that's how people felt. That's how I kind of felt about the GameCube at the time too. And now looking back at it, I hurt myself. I missed out on all these great games on the Wii, and the Wii's kind of in that pocket where I think it's starting to rise a little bit.
Well, it did. The Wii definitely popped during COVID.
Yeah.
Like consoles, and especially Wii Sports, like all this stuff popped because I think nostalgia, people were stuck at home and they wanted to play the Wii again, which is insane because the Wii sold like crazy.
Yeah.
But there's so many awesome Wii games. Plus, if you get like the first model, it plays GameCube games.
Yep.
You can use the GameCube controller. It's great. I know that there is a lot of shovelware and there's a lot of crap games on the Wii, but there is still a lot of awesome Wii games that we still play, and not all the games require motion. So if you don't like the motion part, that's okay. They don't all use them. You can use a regular controller.
I find it hard to believe of those 5 consoles, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox, PS2, and the Wii, that there's not a collector out there that doesn't have some sort of nostalgia for one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, my PS2 nostalgia is really starting to pop because that was, it's been since I was a freaking young teenager.
Yeah, the PS2 is 20 years old, 21 years old.
It just happens. You get that nostalgic bite, and it's like, man, I want to play Metal Gear Solid 2 again really bad. And even some of the sports games are really fun to go revisit. The wrestling games, great racing games from the area, great fighting games.
Guitar Hero is one of my favorite freaking games. Tony Hawk, dude. All the Bond games.
Yeah.
Dude, I know that some of these are cross-platform, but I played them. Nightfire, one of the best freaking games ever made. And it's just so fun to go back to.
He loves that game.
Especially doing split screen. Red Faction 2?
Yeah.
Dude, get one of these. Get a PS2. Get some split screen games. Get a multi-tap or Xbox, 4 players. Bring that couch co-op back for way cheap.
Yeah.
You're going to have so much more fun than playing online with somebody. I guarantee it, dude. I guarantee it.
And here's kind of the hot spot, I think, to be. So those are more older consoles. But I think if you are into the PS4 or the Xbox One, this stuff, get in on it now because everybody's getting rid of it. That's where we miss the days of, man, I wish I would have bought all the NES games when nobody wanted them, right? In the late 90s. Or the Genesis games. And hey, guess what, guys? We missed that boat. But there's another boat pulling up to the marina right now.
Get in.
Get in while you can. The PS4 has an epic library. So does the Xbox One.
Yes, dude. So many amazing games. I know we've talked about this in our prior episodes about physical games, it's kind of disappearing, and also like, if you get one of these games, you might have to install it and all this stuff. But as of right now, if you have internet, the servers are still up, so it's a great time to get in on freaking like all these epic games that you missed out on. You can find them at garage sales. This era of PS4 and Xbox One, people buy the games when they come out, $70 or whatever. They beat it and then they sell it.
Yep.
So if you don't worry about FOMO and you just wait a little bit, you can freaking get these games at garage sales for like $1. Red Dead Redemption 2, $1. Like all these epic games, Doom, $1. Just because people have already played it, now you can play it for way cheap.
Yeah, our local pawn shops that we hit, they're just locked in at $10 for this generation. Sometimes that's too high, to be honest. But there has not been a game that you've told me, hey, I would like to get this, keep your eyes peeled for it, that I don't get within a couple weeks.
Yeah,
because the shit's coming in. People are just fire selling this stuff.
I bet this summer when garage sales start opening, dude, it's going to be PS4 games, Xbox One games galore. So it's like, well, I never got around to that. How much? $2? Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, long-term collectability on those. This is the PS4 and Xbox One is not as where the game is all on the disc as the prior generation, but there's a lot of them that are.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, you know, so I don't know. I think that it's just insane to me that people are saying like collecting is dead or it sucks, or when there's all this opportunity, and then somewhere down the line these collectors are gonna realize that oh man, I missed the window on those, and now I'm gonna pay out the ass for them.
Yeah, it's been in cycles. NES was cheap. Now it's a little bit expensive. Yeah. It's going in cycles. So like if you jump into the Gen 6, Gen 7 era, or maybe PS4, Xbox One era now for dirt cheap, get everything you want to get. You might spend a little bit, but not crazy.
Yeah.
Then in like 10 years, you're gonna be like, I already got it, dude. I'm not worried that, oh, that game's $80 now. I already got it.
Post kind of that stuff. You know, I don't know how much collectability there will be on the newer consoles, other than the Switch, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're getting digital-only consoles. We've covered all that type of stuff in other episodes, so I don't want to go down that road.
I don't understand why people are freaking out so much, because it's not that bad. You just gotta, like, not focus on the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I think people see, like, the price tags, or they see videos of, like, I spent this much money on this, and they just assume that everything's that. It's not.
Or they see the headlines of a sealed graded Mario 64 going for millions of dollars.
That's dumb.
Those are outliers. I even think when people say the NES is not collectible anymore, that's so wrong. That is so wrong. We've done that, again, that $100 challenge on so many consoles, and the games we pick are rippers, guys. They're great games. They're not... So, I don't know. If you're collecting and you love spending the money, the big dollars, you can spend some big boy money. And that may suck for some people, but this stuff,
it doesn't
low-hanging fruit.
It doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can still be freaking fun.
Yep.
So, I don't get why people say it sucks. I think people are just jumping on the bandwagon of people saying it sucks.
Yeah.
And... it doesn't, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love collecting. It's just so nice to just super cheap get PS2 games, Xbox games, and just enjoy it, you know?
Yeah. I agree. It does not suck in 2023. We're drinking a beer today.
Yes.
We have this brown-eyed girl.
Brown-eyed stew.
From Gravity Storm Brewery in Austin, Minnesota. This was a gift to us at the Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good brown ale. Not my favorite style of beer, but if I'm grading it in the pocket of brown-eyed...
It's kind of a brown-eyed girl, dude. So it's a Munich Dunkel, you know, so it's kind of a German malty beer, Bock, you know, brown ale type. It's kind of light, but then there is a nice roasty taste. I'm not a big fan of brown ales, but I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not too aggressive. It's just a nice, easy drinker with a little bit of roast to it. I'm liking this.
It's doing the job.
Yep.
It tastes divine, and it's always fun to have a beer while we're filming an episode.
And think about brown-eyed stew.
If you haven't already, hit the comment section below. What do you think of our thoughts on this topic? What are your thoughts on the topic? Does collecting suck? Is it ruined? Are all the resellers in the doom and gloom ruining your hobby?
Dude, it's so funny when people comment that.
I don't understand all that. Funny. I just don't get it.
You ruined my hobby.
Yeah, that's you letting someone ruin your hobby.
Change your scope.
Yeah. It's all a matter of perspective, and there's a lot of cheap stuff out there still to collect for gamers. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. If you care to support the channel even further, make sure you look in the description below for a link to our Patreon.
Ooh, yep.
A lot of cool giveaways and fun being had with that group. We'll see you next time right here on the one and only Gaming Off the Grid.